Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We'll never stop working to meet our sacred obligation to you.
Pursue energy dominance.
What about Iran?
We got the chills. It was devastating.
It's like trying to put a blowtorch out with a squirt gun.
Safety is being taken away from women.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
The thread that's held America together for over 200 years. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. We're talking about Veterans Day 2024. So much more than a day off for those who didn't take the day off when America called their name. Taps played at Arlington National Cemetery, where President Biden spoke, promising Washington will never turn its back on America's vets.
Bill and I want you to know we see you, we thank you, and we'll never stop working to meet our sacred obligation to you and your families.
This was Biden's final Veterans Day as Commander-in-Chief at Arlington, where he and Vice President Harris took part in a wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. President-elect Donald Trump walks into the Oval Office in 70 days. He's already begun filling out his cabinet.
Former ICE Director Tom Homan will be his border czar.
There'll be targeted arrests. We'll know who we're going to arrest, where we're most likely to find them.
Trump has also nominated New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik to serve as ambassador to the United Nations.
And Republican Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee is considered a front-runner for Secretary of State, along with Senator Marco Rubio and former National Director of Intelligence Rick Grenell, the first openly gay cabinet member in U.S. history. Former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, who once faced off against Governor Kathy Hochul, is Trump's pick to head up the Environmental Protection Agency.
Through the EPA, we have the ability to pursue energy dominance, to be able to make the United States the artificial intelligence capital of the world, to bring back American jobs to the auto industry, and so much more.
Team Trump also faces a host of pressing foreign policy issues, perhaps none bigger than this one.
What about Iran? I know from my Israeli sources that Netanyahu is fed up with 40 years of Iran pulling these punches using their proxies and wants to end it once and for all. That doesn't mean going to war with Iran, but it does mean weakening Iran. That's
retired four-star General Jack Keane, who says the West's goal should be to weaken the regime in Tehran enough to trigger a revolution there. A couple of other election updates for you. Control of the House of Representatives still up for grabs, at least on paper. Republicans are optimistic their current 214 to 203 lead in seats will hold up, at least a slim GOP majority continuing when the final races are decided. In Pennsylvania's U.S. Senate race, Republican Dave McCormick's lead over incumbent Democrat Bob Casey has grown to just over 40,000 votes. Casey says there's still many more votes yet to be counted. Right now, though, McCormick's lead equates to a 0.58% lead. That's high enough as it stands now to avoid a full recount. The count was put on hold for Veterans Day weekend. Thousands of provisional ballots still to be counted, and other voters whose ballots were rejected due to ID issues have until tomorrow to make corrections. That's the sound of a roaring fire in the west, and now in the east, where wildfires are also a big problem. The border area between New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, a hot zone. Over 500 wildfires in the area since October 1st.
That's roughly 500 more fires than we had this same period last year.
18-year-old New York State Parks employee Daryl Vasquez lost his life at one of those fire scenes when a tree fell on him, leaving this resident in disbelief.
We got the chills, and I just can't believe an 18-year-old kid would risk his life for our houses and everyone here. So honestly, it was devastating.
And in California, the mountain fire north of L.A. has destroyed over 100 homes, charred over 20,000 acres.
It's like trying to put a blowtorch out with a squirt gun.
Yeah, that's just how hard it's been for Western firefighters to try to corral that blaze. But thanks to a weekend lessening of hurricane force Santa Ana winds, the mountain fire is now about one-third contained. It's been burning since Wednesday of last week. However, those strong winds are expected to kick up again and make things harder. Shock at Alabama's historically black Tuskegee University yesterday when a mass shooting killed one non-student, wounded 16. Among those injured, nursing student Kimora Bean, who says she was hit 3 times in the back and then laid there waiting 40 minutes for medics to arrive.
Shots went off, and you could tell it was multiple shooters. The amount of time I waited, that's enough time for somebody to go ahead and die.
25-year-old Jaquez Myrick, who is black but not a Tuskegee student, charged with possession of a machine gun shotgun, but it's unknown what his role in the incident was, since police believe there were multiple shooters. A California collegiate confrontation over so-called transgender athletes. San Jose State University's women's volleyball team is drawing increasing attention as opponents choose to forfeit matches with them rather than compete against a team that includes a man. Competing as a so-called transgender woman. Blair Fleming's the name. Many of Fleming's own team are unhappy with the presence of their teammate, including SJSU's associate volleyball coach, Melissa Batty Smoose.
Safety is being taken away from women. Fair play is taken away from women. We need more and more people to do this and fight this fight, because women's sports, as we know it right now, will be forever changed.
A fellow players filed a lawsuit against the NCAA over Fleming's presence, alleging the university hid Fleming's biological sex from the team over the last 2 years. Concerns include player safety, since Fleming's spikes are much harder than normally seen in women's volleyball. 7 women's teams have now chosen to forfeit rather than play San Jose State. Finally, on a lighter note, a Disney rescue drama, though this one was real life.
A Disney cruise line ship, the Disney Treasure, rescued 4 people from a catamaran that was taking on water some 265 miles off Bermuda. The Coast Guard says it coordinated with the cruise ship, which was the closest vessel to the 50-foot catamaran, and the Treasure launched a lifeboat to get to the foursome.
CBS's Steve Cathon. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a blast levels a Rochester area home, a major expansion at a Pennsylvania healthcare facility, and a 2-minute review session for you on the implications of ending New York State's Regents exams.
Here is your family life weather forecast. It'll be mainly cloudy and brisk tonight with a couple of scattered showers. It'll be turning chillier overnight, the low 37 to 42. Late tonight, it'll be cold enough for a couple of scattered flurries for some. It'll be quite a bit chillier Tuesday than recent days. Morning clouds, clearing for sunshine, the high 43 to 48. And then on Wednesday, plenty of sunshine, crisp. High temperatures Wednesday, mid-40s to the lower 50s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live. Across New York and Pennsylvania, an early morning explosion leveled a house, damaged another in the Rochester suburb of Greece. This woman lives nearby. She tells WHEC.
The boom was crazy. I looked around, didn't see anything, got back in bed, and then I heard the sirens.
This man's house is right next door to the blast. It was damaged, though he tells WROC he's just feeling thankful.
I thank God we're lucky. I mean, our house can be replaced, our lives can't. And that's the most important part. Unfortunately, it's happening just before the holiday season, but, I thank God, that he's watching us, and I believe in that. And I'm glad to be alive telling this story today.
3 people were hospitalized in that blast. Touching candlelight vigil over the weekend for Fredonia's Mackenzie Michalski, a 31-year-old nurse practitioner originally from Fredonia, killed while on vacation in Budapest, Hungary. This attendee hopes that session helped some to heal a bit.
In a small community, we look out for one another, we love one another, and we grieve with one another when it's necessary.
I hope that people here leave feeling a little bit of peace.
A 37-year-old Irish man arrested in connection with her death. A large expansion is in the works for the Towanda, Pennsylvania campus of Robert Packer Hospital. A large donation is paying for the upgrades, which Chairman of Emergency Medicine Dr. Mark Harris says will meet a variety of needs.
The enhancements we are implementing are centered around improving patient outcomes with cutting-edge technology and optimized workflows, featuring flexible treatment rooms tailored for adult, pediatric, and bariatric patients. It also incorporates enhanced safety features for behavioral health patients, as well as a dedicated decontamination unit.
No set date for the completion of that 5,200 square foot expansion. Luzerne County honored its veterans with a Sunday parade that ran from Kingston to Wilkes-Barre. Navy vet Lieutenant Commander Susan Allen chaired the 79th edition of that parade.
When I retired, I was asked to stay on the committee, and now I'm the chairman of the parade. Every year, it's an honor to be out here to just honor our veterans.
Wilkes-Barre Mayor George Gunn tells WBRE.
You saw little children today with flags waving, the parents with the flags waving. They're so proud, and this parade is as important as any other parade, showing our vets that we support them.
Now, all right, up next now, New York State high school students have been required to pass the often daunting Regents exams in order to graduate, but that requirement will soon be downgraded. Our Bob Price spoke with Christian educational advocate Ralph Kerr about the forthcoming change.
Basically, what the people who are in charge of Board of Regents in the state of New York are really looking at the whole issue of public education, and they're trying to rethink what some new desired outcomes might be. And I think that's a good thing to do, because sometimes the educational system system is way behind where we are in society.
So this is going to be broken up over 3 phases. It's not going to happen all at once. The third one wouldn't start till 2029. What is the state hoping to accomplish in each of these phases?
There's going to be huge changes, probably a discontinuation of the well-known Regents exams. So in the first couple of years, they're going to be trying to finalize a portrait of what a graduate actually looks like, and then figure out if there need to be some exemptions to the current requirements that are in place for graduation. Phase 2 involves prioritizing the learning standards and then actually releasing what the portrait of a graduate is going to look like. And then in the final stage, this involves a lot of staff development. And then the last part of that third phase is to really come right down on what are the proficiency standards to meet that portrait of the graduate, and the new assessments will be in place along with the new learning standards at that point.
I was a little confused when I read the fine print here. The goal is by January of 2028 to no longer use the Regents exams as a requirement for graduation. Is that correct?
That is the plan, yes.
So will the Regents be done with entirely, or is it just no longer a requirement for graduation?
I'm not sure that determination has been made, but New York State is one of the few states in the country that have this special sort of elite set of exams that they require the students to pass in order to graduate. And I'm in favor of looking at that, because if you take into the learning styles that different students have, the Board of Regents exams, I don't believe really helps students into hands-on experiences. Lots of students just don't do well with that because that's not their learning style. Mm-hmm. So if they can come up with some ways to test in these other areas and that becomes part of graduation, I think that's a good thing.
That's Dr. Ralph Kerr, who founded the Teaching and Learning Institute based in Houghton, New York. You can listen, share, or download Bob Price's full interview with Dr. Kerr. Click on the Issues in Education podcast at familylife.org. Up next, your nightly market report brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Wall Street closing higher to start the week. Stocks extended the post-election rally. Dow Industrial Average closing above 44,000, new record high. Financial shares included J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup, helping to lift the markets as tech shares lagged a bit. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 304 points to 44,293. The S&P 500 rose 5 points to 60,01, and the Nasdaq added 12 points to 19,298. Faithward Advisors, a Christian financial planning firm helping faithful stewards do more. Details are available at faithwardadvisors.com. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
1 Chronicles 16 reveals that giving is worship. It reads, "Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come before him. Worship the Lord in the splendor of holiness." I am Rob West with your Faith and Finance Minute. We sometimes forget that giving is worship and become complacent about it. But giving should fill our hearts with joy, just like singing our favorite hymn. God doesn't need our money, but he wants our hearts. Giving and worship glorify him, as they should, but he's already far more glorious than anything we could add. Giving and worship are for our benefit. They define our relationship with him and align our hearts with his. When you put your offering in the plate, be joyful. You are worshiping the Lord. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Thank you very much. Now, coming up on the 5 o'clock report, some final thoughts on Veterans Day from one of our area's surviving World War II vets.
The call for tonight, a good deal of cloudiness. We do expect a couple of scattered showers. Late tonight, it'll be cold enough for a couple of scattered flurries for some. Low temperatures dipping into the 30s and low 40s. Tomorrow, much chillier than recent days. Morning clouds. Could be a sprinkle or a flurry in parts of central New York, but skies will be clearing out for some sunshine. High temperatures, mainly 40s to around 50. And then on Wednesday, plenty of sunshine, crisp. High temperatures Wednesday, mid-40s to the lower 50s. Chillier air will be in play then for the rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Kevin Williams. Finally at 5, Veterans Day has been special to Rochester's Tom and Goody for a long time. After all, he's 103.
Veterans Day means a lot because every day that goes by is a year. I'm lucky I was here
thank God I was here.
America's World War II veterans once numbered about 16 million. Now there are less than 70,000 left to tell the story of America's greatest generation. And Goody lived what most only know from their history books, including the D-Day invasion of Normandy, France.
6 o'clock in the morning, had to rush everybody in there. The first wave got wiped right out. And Eisenhower was the president and says, keep sending them in. Somebody's got to get in there. Battleships, airplanes, guns. It was a mess.
Goody was just 21 then, but remembers the tension of that day like it was yesterday. Of the annual Veterans Day remembrance, he says it's important to honor our veterans because, in his words, they deserve everything they're getting. Thank you for your service. That's the world we live in on this Veterans Day, Monday, November 11th, 2024. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.